the MATLAB window?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So now this code is called HH cell current. Okay, it basically maybe Sandeep will show a demo later and go through the code, right? How it is written. It's a very short code because you just have only 4 equations. So what we'll do is we'll run this code with the various input currents, right, and see how the response changes as the input currents vary. So I'll start with the current is in microamps per I think millimeter square. So I'll use 0, 1. Right, so there are 3 plots. Can you see the plots?
No, sir. The plot is not seen. Maybe that window is not shared.
Okay, let me. Can we share multiple windows simultaneously or?
No,
I
just
think best thing is to share the screen. Share the screen.
yes.
Just 1 second. So now you can see the
Yes.
screen, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we have given input current of 0.01. In response to that, this is the voltage versus time plot. So initial voltage is about minus 65, I think, right? Or minus 64.99, I don't know. So that is the initial voltage. So it just shows increases slightly to minus 3 something and then comes back to the baseline and stabilizes there. Okay, so obviously that's not an action potential. It hasn't changed much at all. Now, if you look at this plot, this is the 3 gating variables, M, H, and N. So you know that in Austin-Exley model, totally you have only 4 variables. V is the voltage and 3 gating variables, M, H, and N. So there also this little ripple in the beginning, and after that it remained flat. So nothing much is happening. Now the third plot that we will see is the conductance plot. Okay, GNA and GK. So we know that if there is an action potential, GNA and GK show like very sharp peaks. Especially GNA is quite sharp, GK is somewhat smoother. So in this case, obviously, since they are functions of M, N, and H, so they are also quite flat. Okay, so the current is too low, so the neuron doesn't respond much. Now let us increase it a little bit, 0.02. Now it has gone, earlier it only went from minus 64 to minus 63 or something. Now it went further up, right? This is a DC current, by the way, it's a step current. So at time 0, you give that constant current and that remains constant. Okay, it's not a pulse. So, but even the input is a step, the deviation voltage is only brief. It goes up a little bit and comes back down to this baseline value. So then M and H also there's a little ripple, and again they're also flat. Conductance also there's an initial ripple, and after that it's flat. Now let us increase the current further, 0.03. Yeah, so what do you see here? You see a sudden increase in voltage, right? Until then it was only a smooth variation, and there's only a small variation and a brief variation. So here it is very sharp. It went beyond 0 and went to positive values. That means the membrane is depolarized, right? And it came back down very quickly. So it is also very brief. It will be about 1 millisecond wide. And it went down below its baseline value. Baseline was only about 64 or so. It went below that. So this is the hyperpolarization stage or phase, right? And again, it came back to the baseline value and then it stabilizes. So this is a classic action potential. Now you see the transition from a more linear-like response, where you just have a ripple and it dies down after that, to this sharp nonlinear response. It seemed to be quite sudden, but only thing is we went from 0.02 to 0.03. So let us explore more closely, more finely, and try to see where exactly this change occurs. So I'll say 0.021. Let us operate at third decimal. So at 0.021, it's not an action potential. It went from minus 65 to minus 60 59.5. So then let us slowly increase our current in the third decimal. Let's see what happens. 0 to 2. Okay, nothing much. It increased a little bit, but still it's not an action potential. It didn't go to positive values. Now let us say 0.023. Right? Just when you increase something at the third decimal, you have this action potential. Okay, from 0.022 to 0.023, suddenly you see a sharp change. So normally in linear systems, you don't see this kind of behavior. In linear systems, if you see a sudden change, that's probably because of instability, and after that, things will start blowing up. So that's of no good, that's of no use, right? So whereas here, when you change this parameter even slightly, you see a qualitative change in behavior, and that is a typical nonlinear effect. There's a bifurcation going on here, and thus an action potential. So you can, if you want, you can even probe further exactly at what point, like 2 to 3, okay, 2 to 3, right? Because it happened between 0.22 and 0.022 and 0.023. So let us probe at the fourth decimal. So at 0.0223 also there's no action potential. Let us probe 0.0224. Okay, see that. So between 0.0223 and 0.0224, right, in the fourth decimal, some magic happens. Okay, and suddenly you see this like nonlinear response emerging. So that's an action potential. So now if you increase the current beyond this and just keep going further, so 0.03, okay, you have an action potential, and you see that when you have an action potential, let us look at M and H and N gating variables. M shows a positive response, right, along with the voltage. And why is that? Because it's an activation variable. With increasing voltage, it increases, and therefore with decreasing voltage, it decreases. H is an inactivation variable, right? So the green one. So therefore, with increasing voltage, it decreases, and vice versa. And N is also an activation variable. With increasing voltage, it increases. Only thing is the temporal characteristics are slightly different for N. Its time constant is slightly bigger. So therefore, the peak lives and occurs at a slightly delayed point. So if you combine this, you know that GNA is proportional to M cube H, and GK is proportional to N power 4. So if you apply those formulae, then you get the sodium conductance and potassium conductance. So you see a sharp peak in sodium conductance, and a shorter peak but wider peak for the potassium conductance. So all the things that we have studied theoretically, you can see in this simulation. So let us increase the current further, 0.004. Okay, there is still an action potential. It is about the same behavior, nothing qualitative, right? No major change. 0.05. Yeah, so no major change. So let us see what happens. Increase further. Something interesting is happening. At 0.06, instead of one action potential, it produced 2. After that, it died down. Okay, so and also the second action potential is shorter than the first action potential. Right after that, so it's like a decaying set of action potentials. Right, 0.07. Okay, something interesting is happening. Right, when the current goes beyond somewhere between 0.06 and 0.07, right, it has transitioned again to a new behavior between 0.024 and 0.06 roughly. Right, it was showing only either one or multiple action potentials, but a finite number of action potentials. But when you went to 0.07, all right, showing a continuous train of action potential. So if you simulate for longer time, it will keep on firing. So that's a qualitative change. So here also we can probe more closely and see at exactly at what value it happens. 0.061, let us see that. No change, it's still finite number of action potentials. 0.062. So instead of 2, it's showing 4. So that's interesting. So it's getting there, but it's still a finite number. 0.063, right? Okay, so and not only that, you see that it is now the action potential amplitude is not dying, it's not diminishing, right? So from first to second, there is a reduction, but after that, it is continuous. They are exactly the same, and the periodicity is also it's perfectly periodic. Right? Durations are exactly the same. Okay, so this is kind of like a limit cycle, but this system is 4-dimensional, so it's in 4 dimensions. Okay, so we have seen the characteristic response of ordinary slave model, which is producing a continuous train of action potentials, right? So that is seen beyond this current 0.063. If you go further, let us say 0.07, so you have continuous firing, so you can see that, and you can see all the other variables also. M, H, and N also now vary continuously periodically, and even GNA, GK also varies continuously and periodically. Now, if you go further, 0.08, right, there is still the same kind of behavior, continuous firing, but difficult to see, but there is a small reduction in the duration, right? There's AP to AP duration, or in other words, a slight increase in frequency. It gets difficult, if you calculate it, you can see that. 0.09, right, there's a further increase. 0.1, okay, further increase, but no major qualitative change. 0.2. Okay, so you can notice something here. For lesser currents, when it is producing a series of action potentials, the peak voltage was like 30, 40 millivolts and so on. But now as you increase the current, the frequency is definitely increasing. At the same time, the amplitude is also slightly decreasing. In a given trial, for a given current, the amplitude is fixed, right? And the frequency is constant. But otherwise, from trial to trial, compared to the smaller current, as you increase the current, the amplitude is going down. And let us increase the current further and see what happens to the amplitude. 0.03. Sorry, not 0.03, 0.3. The 0.3, it has again come down even further. It's come to 20. Peak value has come to 20. 0.4. It's almost like 15. Peak value is almost 15. 0.5. Right, it's come down further. 0.6. Right, it's almost touching 0. The thing is, one of the basic features of an action potential is that the membrane, which is normally negative, gets depolarized and goes to positive values. Right, but whereas in this case, it's barely going into positive values. So 0.7, if you go to 0.7, it has come significantly less than 0. So if you keep going like that, let's say 0.9, it's even lesser than -0. So then I'll say 1.1. At 1.1, it hardly seems like an action potential. It's actually quite smooth, right? Quite wide, and so even the M, H, and N variables almost seem like sinusoids. Right. So if you look at the conductances, the first time it occurs, it looks kind of like an action potential related conductance. After that, they look very smooth. So same thing with the voltage also. So as you increase the voltage further, the current further, the voltage goes down even more and looks like a sinusoid. So point is, you see a transition which is gradual. You cannot say it's sudden. So therefore, it's difficult to draw a line and say this is where the transition has occurred. But definitely there is a transition. So if you look at all the behaviors that we saw in the Hodgkin-Sleeve model, that is what we summarized in the last class. For a small current, right, there is just a ripple and then everything comes back to normal. As increased current at around 0.023, right, they have a clear action potential, and the corresponding values, the profiles of the conductances also can be seen. At 0.1, you can see, in fact, even at 0.062, you can see a train of action potentials, a continuously firing neuron. Then as you increase further at about 0.6, right, you see the peak amplitude goes below 0. So point is, now we have a interesting question. At what point does the firing pattern cease to be a train of action potentials? So when do you say it's not an action potential? So here, the only thing we can do is we can put a threshold and we can put a cutoff value and say that if the peak value goes less than this, we won't call it an action potential anymore, right? Just as by definition. So we can say that if the peak value doesn't cross 0, we won't call it an action potential. So if you make that definition, then you can define all the behaviors like this. So as you vary the input current, at a first, up to a first threshold point, I'll call it I1, right? There is no action potentials at all. There is only a small ripple followed by a flat line. So this current we found to be about 0.022 something. Then if you increase current further at a second threshold, between I1 and I2, you have one or a finite number of action potentials, but there's no continuous firing. But beyond I2, you see that there's a continuous firing. And not only that, the frequency increases, but quite slowly, right? When once it starts with a frequency of 60 hertz, right? And it goes beyond, goes up to crosses 100 hertz. But here at I3, we'll say that it's not an action potential. So you cannot talk about frequency, right? There's a frequency, but it looks more sinusoid. We have defined it as not an action potential. So we'll bring it down. So if you draw this plot, right, this plot gives an idea of what is the response of a single neuron, a Hodgkin-Sleeve neuron is like to a constant input current. All right, so your first assignment will be to make this plot. So we'll share the code with you, right? You have to vary the input current and find this plot, which means you have to calculate the frequency of the action potentials. So for that, that's the only thing for which you have to write some code. So you will have to write a program which counts the number of spikes in a given duration, right? So you have to apply, see if the voltage crosses some threshold, right? And then you make it as one action potential. And so you count them using a code like that. Then find the frequency, plot the frequency as a function of the current, and basically reconstruct this graph. That's your first assignment. So your TA will give you more details. We'll also tell you the deadline for this assignment and so on. Okay, so that completes our discussion of Hodgkin-Sleeve model. So now let us move on to the next topic.